The Abberton scheme was made up of a number of components. One was the Denver licence variation. There were a number of pumping stations to construct along the transfer route. One was at Wormingford and one was at Kennet. And we also constructed 32 kilometres of pipeline that linked those pumping stations to the reservoir, enabling water transfer. My involvement was solely at the reservoir, and the project that we undertook at the reservoir was to increase the capacity, and we did that by raising the height of two significant dams on the existing site, re-raising one of the pumping stations and constructing a number of coal dams around the south side of the reservoir.
And you had to do some preparation work of moving a major gas pipeline, didn't you, at the start of the enlargement of the reservoir project?
The project, indeed, we did need to do a lot of utility diversions in advance of construction work starting. So on the north side of the reservoir we had to divert a high pressure gas main. On the south side of the reservoir we had to divert an intermediate pressure gas main. And on both the north and south sides of the reservoir we did a number of electrical diversions, both 33 kilovolt and 11 kilovolt, to make way for some of the borrow pits and the fact that the surface area of the reservoir increases, and some of those utilities would have been submerged by the new water level.
And your involvement on the project started in 2008, so tell us a bit about your personal history with the Abberton reservoir enlargement.
Okay, so in 2008 I started with a process known as OJU, and that's our way of advertising the work to the official journal of the European Union and asking for expressions of interest from contractors that may be interested in undertaking the works for Northumbrian Water. That tender process lasted approximately 1 year from the OJU notice going out to us actually awarding the contract, and that's quite an involved process where you're undertaking quite comprehensive tender assessments, not only of price but also of the quality of the contractor's submission, and them demonstrating to you that they can actually undertake the work and they've got experience of this type of work. Then you go through a process of preparing the contract and appointing the contractor, ready for the start in January 2010 all the way through to December 2014.
And it was eventually Carillion that won that process and you worked on site with them.
That's right, we appointed Carillion. They were already one of our framework contractors. They were able to demonstrate similar competence on a lot of the work that they'd done at Rutland Water, and that put them in a good position to submit a very good technical submission for the works, and the price is also very attractive to us as well. When they established themselves on site, we had a number of our engineers and project managers actually work in a collaborative fashion with Carillion in the site compound that was actually based just adjacent to the reservoir.
And one of the features of this reservoir enlargement was the way you worked with nature, didn't you? And you had a long study before construction work started in terms of the bird life and that, and then you managed works around the different migration and mating patterns of different species, didn't you?
That's right, we undertook a very comprehensive exercise over maybe 4 or 5 years to understand how the citation species that use Abberton Reservoir, where they were through different periods of the year and how they were actually using those different areas. Recognising the ecological status of the reservoir as a SSSI, an SPA and a Ramsar designation, we orientated our work such that they wouldn't disturb the entire reservoir at any one time. And what that enabled us to do was to fit our work around the ecology using the reservoir and prevent those disturbance events occurring. But that was a very long study in advance of us awarding the contract, and then we were able to introduce all of those types of constraints into the contract that we awarded to Carillion. So there was a very good level of understanding before we actually undertook the work.
Now on site you had lots of monster cranes come. I mean, was there a kind of highlight in terms of the construction work that really sticks in your mind?
For me, I think it was really the scale of the construction works. The reservoir surface area increased from 4 kilometres to 6.6 kilometres squared, and working across a site that was that size and trying to coordinate all of the activities was certainly a very comprehensive job for a lot of the site agents, the managers, the foremen working on the site, and I think just seeing that teamwork come together to deliver such an excellent project at the end of the day was probably the highlight over any one specific event during the construction period. I think the highlight for me has now actually been seeing this reservoir fill, which we achieved in the early part of this year, get to that 21 metres above sea level, and that's a really, really fantastic milestone for all of the members of the team involved in the construction, and also for Northumbrian Water and its customers.
And for you personally to have Sir David Attenborough come to this site today to mark the official opening, it's the culmination of a huge part of your life, isn't it?
It is, it's fantastic having somebody like Sir David Attenborough here today to celebrate with us the opening, is an absolutely fantastic experience. Being able to meet him and talk to him about the work that we'd undertaken around the reservoir really is an absolutely fantastic way to top off what has been a very long part of my career at Northumbrian Water.